I feel like a lot of times in life, when it comes to our issues and comes to our problems, we look for sort of the wrong avenue for our solution. I feel like a lot of things are really just internal, and the external sense of things is not necessarily inherent to our issues. And that's why I feel like it's important to stop looking in the external for internal solutions. I feel like a lot of things are within us, and a lot of things are problems that we create in our mind, and problems that we create sort of for ourselves in the way we inhabit the world, not necessarily how the world is by itself. You know, Not saying that every problem that we face, not everything we encounter is a figment of our imagination, but to say a lot of times we do contribute to our own negativity and our own sense of issue when it comes to our own issues. And that's why it's important to sort of find an internal solution to these problems, because we're the internal thing that made it a problem in the first place. You have to realize, how much of yourself is within your problems, and how much of what you do and what you express is sort of expressed within that negativity of that problem. How much of yourself is being dictated by the circumstance or event that makes you feel like you're attached to it, or makes you feel like whatever the outcome of the event is inherent to you. All in all, I really just mean to sort of look within before you look without. Understand that a lot of things in the external sense, and a lot of things in regards to the way we see things, are just a figment of our expression of who we are inside. A lot of times when we're looking at other people, other circumstances, and other events, we see ourselves first. We see our own negativity. We see our own this, is, that, and the other. And I think that's why people say whatever you dislike in someone else, you dislike in yourself. And that's not to say people can't be obnoxious, can't be this, is, that way, or the other. But I find that when I really try to accept myself, other people get accepted a lot easier. Because you have to really take people for what they are, and take events and circumstances for what they are. Otherwise, they'll be what you are. And if what you are is dictated by the circumstance or an event, then a lot of times it's just negative. Because you are also what you bring to the event. It's you and the situation versus whatever it is. And that's why it's important to not contribute negativity, because you're bringing negativity there, and it will be present as long as you are in that sense. I feel like internal solutions aren't necessarily, you know, you just finding the right answer, or you finding the right way, but understanding that sometimes our problems aren't necessarily problems, just an expression of how we need to give ourselves certain things. You know, Not necessarily expecting from the world, but definitely giving to ourselves. Because what you don't get from the world, you have to give to yourself. I think we just have to do better at realizing that, you know, in our pursuit of getting better, in our pursuit of doing whatever we want to do, we have to make that choice. And sometimes that choice is really just the hardest aspect and hardest part, because it's not always easy to be the bigger person. It's not always easy to sort of put yourself on what it seems to be the back burner in order to have some sort of peace. But what I realize is, if you're the one that's feeling it, it's important to be on top of your own feelings in that sense. To understand that, if you give other people permission to make you feel a certain way, then you're in their control. And that's not to say reject other people or this is that and the other, but to say that we have to realize the implications of our own actions and our own understanding as it pertains to whatever it is we're experiencing. A lot of times it's not necessarily the situation or the person. It really just is the internal self. And a lot of the times we try to repair our internal self with external things, such as material, such as, I don't know, whatever coping mechanisms people have. And I'm not saying all coping mechanisms, but negative ones. Things that don't contribute to your growth and contribute to yourself. And I find that with my problems, I don't really heal them just by, I don't know, going out and partying. That's not going to heal the issue. It might distract you for a moment, but it's not going to heal it. And you can't heal from what you don't acknowledge. And I feel like acknowledgement is half the battle with healing. Because you have to understand why these things hurt you, or why this impacted you a certain way, and why this happened, And it helps you understand that sometimes the basis of your feeling, the basis of your problem is really just grounded in an internal problem that you have with yourself. When I have difficulty doing anything, when I have difficulty, I don't know, expressing myself in a certain way, or trying to get out into the world and doing something new, I find that a lot of my discomfort with a situation isn't discomfort with the situation. It's discomfort with myself and the unknown. Discomfort with not knowing every answer, not knowing how this can go, knowing how that's going to go. And the biggest thing I've realized is you have to be present enough to make those choices that are best for you. The easiest way to predict the future is to be present when the opportunity arises. The best way to be patient in any situation is to be present enough to realize when you can be patient. Realize when you can embody that. And that's why I realize it's more important to sort of call to action than to overthink about it. Because if it's not in your hands, it shouldn't be in your mind. And the best way to be, able to do things with your hands or to be here is to be here. You can't do anything if you're not there to do it. And that's why I feel like the subtle importance in life isn't necessarily to overthink, to get through this, to overcome your mind in that sense, but be present enough that your mind isn't the main thing here. You're not some offspring of your mind. You're not some this is and other. It's your mind that you're having. It's your experience. It's your thoughts. You have to realize that what you are isn't the thought. It's the thing that's observing whatever it is that's in front of you. And I realize that it's important to not necessarily live in that observation. It's not about looking. It's about being present enough to see. And once you're present enough to see whatever is in front of you, then it's really just a matter of what you want out of the situation. If I want to, I don't know, convince someone to do something, or I want to present my stuff well, or this is that and the other. If I'm not present enough to be there, then I can't see my opportunities that lie in the present moment. And that's why I feel like a lot of us have a displaced viewpoint of our success and our goals, because we invest so much into that idea of the future, that idea that it's going to work out here, but it's not going to work out right now. And of course, there are times where you might not be the right person for the event, but it's never really about the right time. It's always about being the right person. Understanding that opportunities will arise whenever you're ready enough to capitalize off them. And that's why I feel like the importance in life is, because if we can't be there for ourselves, then what's the point? You're going to be with yourself 100% of the time. And as long as you have yourself, you do have someone. It's important to realize the subtle implication that is you. And I feel like all that comes with realizing that, external problems don't require internal solutions, or internal solutions the other way around. External solutions don't always help internal problems. It's sort of validating the idea that what you are by yourself is not enough. And I'm realizing that we always are enough for whatever situation we encounter. It's important to give yourself that kind of grace, that kind of respect, that kind of love, affection, and attention, to realize that it's not the outside circumstances, it's not what you possess that makes you feel good about yourself. It's how much of yourself you possess that makes you feel good about yourself. Because once you realize what works for you, once you realize what, I don't know, is best for you in a subtle way, I think that's when life kind of begins for you. Because then it's about understanding what you like more, understanding how this relates to that, how that relates to this, and most of all, how you can relate to everything around you. And in relation, I'm not necessarily talking about you are connected or you're a direct response of this, that, and the other, but realizing, your life is going to be catered to whatever you make it. You're either living in your own personal heaven or hell. I feel like it's always dictated by the perspective at which you take on the world. And overall, I think acceptance is the easiest way to get a little bit of comfort. Because you have to accept yourself and see your flaws and see whatever you need to fix in order to fix it. And it's also about realizing that you don't need to be fixed. Who we are isn't necessarily some stuck something. It's not something I feel like necessarily needs to always be monitored, checked, this, that, and the other. You have to give yourself grace. Give yourself freedom and have faith in yourself enough to realize that if you have intention to get better, if you have intention to do what you want, all you have to do is be present enough to act upon your intention. And that's why I feel like presence really comes in, because it's really just about doing your best and being yourself. And being present enough with yourself to realize what it is that you want and doing your best at that, it just makes everything so much easier. And when it comes to our problems, when it comes to our actual issues, because of course there are times where I have issues. Of course there are times where things I feel like sort of get out of hand in regards to myself. I try to, give myself the solace, to give myself the grace to realize that, I can only do as much as I can, or as much as I think I can. And I will try my very best in a situation and then let it go. If you can do, and if you can't, it's important to let go. And of course, it's important to have an honesty aspect to that, because some people will tell themselves they can't do something just because they can't. And 9 times out of 10, if you tell yourself you can't, you probably won't even try. You lose nothing in trying, but gain everything in success. And that's why I feel like the importance of life isn't necessarily just in your application, but also in your embodiment. It's not just how you express yourself, but it's who's expressing it and how much of that is catered to the expression. Understanding that your power isn't in what you hold, but what you have. It's in how much of yourself is not necessarily dependent on some sort of external circumstance, stimulus, or reaction in order to be present. Who you are is enough for every situation. It's just about understanding what the best way to express yourself in a certain situation is, I feel. And all that comes with, understanding that your problems are necessarily always dictated by the external. I think it's just overall important to realize your influence on everything around you, your influence on how you sort of see the world. Because how you see the world is really the most important thing, I feel like. Because if you see it in a negative way, it's just about, you're going to live a negative life. And when I say stuff like that, I don't necessarily mean that your life is going to be any type of bad way or this is that and the other. But when it comes to like a sense of personal freedom or personal understanding, I feel like making life more intimate makes it more fun. You're going to carry on through life regardless. And it's going to be the way it is. Because life is how life is and the world is how it is. And you have to realize how much of your perspective can make that better for you. How much of that perspective can make your problems sort of go away in a real sense. Because a lot of times our problems are just catered to our insecurity, catered to how much of ourselves we think we lack and how much of ourselves we think we need to gain in expressing ourselves into the world and in being within it. And in regards to our expression, it's about realizing that your light isn't in reference to anyone else's. I feel like sometimes we dim our own light just by expecting others to see it. We act in accordance to a certain box that we put ourselves in, and you get people that like that, or you get a situation that like that, you get to an environment that like that. But if you don't like it, then there's no point in being in that environment. I feel like finding out what's best for you is just about being you, and then you can find out. You can't figure out what's best for you if you're never bringing the best of you to a situation. And that's why I feel like it's just important to be present. Understand that who you are and what you do is ultimately dictated by how you see it. And how you see things is just about how present you are and whether or not you're looking for something else. Because I realize we lose a lot of what we see and what we look for. If I'm looking for this, if I'm looking for, I don't know, proof that I'm loved, proof that I'm this, proof that I'm that in the external world, then I'm losing everything else that I could be grateful for. I have to understand that those type of feelings and that type of validation is really something you have to give to yourself before you try to get it from the external world. Because who we are isn't dictated by how some other external thing feels about us. It's about how you react to you. And of course, it's about being honest with yourself. Because when I say that, I don't mean just ignore other people. Sometimes people can be correct. But it's important to realize a little bit of truth and honesty in what you do. You have to realize when your actions do this, when your actions do that, and how much of yourself is influenced by this. I can't say that 100% that I pull my strings 100% and I am writing my own story. I'm trying my best. But of course, there are certain situations and circumstances that would take me out of that. But it's not to say that I feel like I'm powerless or I feel like I couldn't. It's just saying that you have to open your mind to certain things in order to allow yourself to exist. Comfort with the unknown isn't saying that I know things are going to be bad in the future. But acknowledging that a negative possibility exists is not a bad thing. It's living in that. Saying, oh, it is going to get worse. Oh, my God. Sitting on that shaky foundation, I feel like a lot of times it's just that anxiety that needs an answer. Realizing that a lot of what we do and a lot of who we are isn't just what we do, but how we see what we do and how much of that we allow to sort of alleviate the burden that is, our anxiety or stress. And saying that anxiety needs an answer, I'm saying that sometimes when I'm anxious about certain things, like if I'm anxious about my schedule or having enough time to myself or doing this or doing that, the easiest thing that I found to do is to start wherever I am. If I have to make a video, do this, this, that, and the other, sign this, go outside, and I don't know. I can't leak my whole schedule to y'all, but if I have a lot to do, I just start doing. You do what you can with what you have, and at the end of the day, it always is more easier in action than in thought when it comes to that. Because I realize we connotate a lot of what we do before we actually do it. Like, oh, this assignment's gonna be hard. Or this class, this coursework, this day is gonna be tough. It's gonna be busy. It's gonna be filled. It's gonna be stressed. It's gonna be this, that, and the other. And a lot of times it isn't. A lot of times it really is the connotation that we give to it prior, and that's why I feel like it's important to not look at the external for solutions to your internal problems. All that to say, thank you. Much appreciated. I really do appreciate all of y'all who made it this far in the video, and I appreciate all of y'all who watch the video in general. It's a good time. It's a good time to be alive. I'm glad that everyone is alive and kicking enough to watch this video. So I appreciate y'all for doing that, for being there. Please take care of yourself. Make sure you're treating yourself like a friend, because as long as you have yourself, you have somebody. And I feel like it's really a cheat code to overall enjoyment in life once you don't stop basing it on other people or other events or other circumstances to find your enjoyment, because it's already here. All in all, thank you.